My partner, Sarah, mentioned that spouses weren't permitted at her college reunion, but a friend sent me pictures of her joyfully spending time with her former boyfriend. Sarah, my wife of 8 years, had told me 6 weeks prior that she was planning to attend her 10-year college reunion in Colorado. She asked if I wanted to join her, explaining that it would be a laid-back weekend with everyone bringing their partners. I agreed, as I had never been to Colorado and thought it would be a great opportunity to meet the people she had spent 4 years with. Sarah seemed excited about the trip, discussing hiking trails and places we might explore. She even suggested extending our stay by a couple of days to turn it into a mini vacation. We booked our flights together, and I took some time off work. I bought new hiking boots and a jacket suitable for the Colorado weather. In the evenings, Sarah and I would look through photos from her college days, and she pointed out friends I would meet there. There was Jake, who had attended our wedding with his wife, Lisa, and introduced Sarah to her first job, and then there was Carlos, who organized an annual charity run that Sarah participated in. I noticed she never mentioned Ethan, her college boyfriend, despite previous conversations indicating he had been a significant part of her college experience. They had dated for over 3 years before breaking up in their final year. Then, about 10 days before the trip, Sarah informed me that the reunion organizers had changed their minds and were no longer allowing spouses due to venue capacity limits. She seemed disappointed and apologized for the change. I reassured her that it was fine and that I would spend the weekend catching up on household chores. I noticed that whenever I asked for more details about the new arrangements, she would quickly change the subject. When I specifically inquired about which other spouses had been excluded, she vaguely mentioned Jake's wife and a few others before bringing up a work-related issue. The night before her trip, Sarah packed her bags while I watched television in our bedroom. She seemed to take extra care with her outfit choices, bringing along several more options than she typically would for a 4-day trip. She packed her most beautiful dresses, including one she had recently bought but hadn't yet worn. When I commented on this, she said she wanted to look good in photos since everyone would be comparing how much they had changed since graduation. She also packed more cosmetics than usual and meticulously organized her toiletries. The day after Sarah left for the reunion, I received a text from Jake, one of her college friends whom I had met at our wedding. His message informed me that Sarah had been spending all her time with her college ex, Ethan. Jake also mentioned that he had seen them walk into Ethan's cabin and stay there for over an hour while the rest of the group was out hiking. According to Jake, Sarah had told everyone that I couldn't attend due to an important work project. He attached a photo of the reunion schedule, which showed no restrictions on inviting partners. I stared at the message for what felt like an eternity. Sarah and I had not been having any issues. We had been discussing starting a family next year, just finished renovating our kitchen, and were planning to tackle the bathrooms next month. We had even begun looking at larger homes in neighborhoods with good schools. I had never suspected her of being dishonest before. That evening, I called her to see how things were going. During our conversation, Sarah described the reunion as fantastic, mentioning a hike and a cookout. When I casually asked about the venue and whether the no spouses policy was justified, she quickly confirmed that it was due to the lodge's limited accommodation capacity. Then I asked if Ethan was there, trying to make it sound like an afterthought. After a long pause, she said he couldn't make it and was now living in Europe. After we hung up, I checked our cell phone bill online. Sarah had made several calls to a number I didn't recognize in the weeks leading up to the reunion. The calls had become more frequent as the reunion approached, with the most recent one lasting 47 minutes the day before she left. I copied the number and texted Jake to see if he knew who it belonged to. He confirmed that it was Ethan's number, who had returned from London 6 months earlier after his divorce. I packed my bag and went to stay with my sister, who is a family law attorney. I showed her Jake's text, the reunion schedule, and the phone records before explaining the situation. My sister advised me not to jump to conclusions and suggested that I talk to Sarah when she returned, as the calls could be innocent. When I pointed out that Sarah had lied about Ethan's absence and told everyone I couldn't come due to work, my sister acknowledged my concerns but reminded me that 7 years of marriage deserved more than 3 days of doubt. She recommended waiting to see if there was a legitimate explanation before taking drastic measures. I spent the next 3 nights on close for a group photo, even though there was ample space around them in the picture. I told Sarah that I was going to spend the night at my sister's place because I needed some time to think. She followed me as I packed, her voice growing increasingly agitated as she insisted that I was overreacting and that I was willing to throw away 7 years of marriage over trivial texts and images. She brought up our future plans for children and the house we were considering buying. As I zipped my bag, she blocked the bedroom doorway, pleading with me to stay and work things out. I simply waited until she moved aside and then left without responding to her accusations. That night, Sarah called me 27 times and left 14 voicemail messages, each one more dramatic than the last. I didn't pay much attention to most of them. Over the next 2 days, she texted me frequently, alternating between apologizing, explaining, and accusing me of being unreasonable. My sister agreed to postpone any legal actions while I took the time to think things over. I felt lost, 7 years of marriage and I never saw this coming. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of everything. My friends were split on the issue. Half of them said I should listen to her and that couples have survived worse, while the other half insisted that lying alone revealed her true character. I couldn't eat. Had anyone else caught their spouse lying about something like this? I never expected to find myself in this situation, and I honestly didn't recognize my life right now. Update 1. I want to thank everyone who responded to my initial post. I read every single comment, even if I couldn't reply to all of them. During one of the most challenging times in my life, this community has provided me with incredible support. So many of you shared similar experiences, which made me feel less alone. To those who have asked for an update, it has been 2 weeks since I discovered Sarah's lies. After speaking with my sister and thoroughly weighing everything, I have decided to move forward with the divorce. I felt I couldn't continue after this breach of trust. I called Jake again to seek more information. He offered to meet me near his workplace. When we met, Jake showed me more images from the reunion, pointing out how Sarah and Ethan sat together for every meal and activity. He showed me a group shot from the first night's dinner, where the seating was organized alphabetically. However, Sarah had moved her name card and sat next to Ethan instead of her assigned seat. Jake claimed he hadn't intended to get involved, but seeing them together throughout the event felt wrong. His wife had noticed it too and encouraged him to tell me. He confirmed that Sarah and Ethan spent most of the reunion together, frequently stepping away from the main group to share private jokes and sitting together at every meal. Another classmate mentioned how it seemed like they had picked up right where they left off in college. Regarding the cabin incident, Jake presented a timeline that contradicted Sarah's account. The hike was supposed to last 90 minutes along a nearby national park route. Sarah and Ethan disappeared about 15 minutes into the hike, claiming they had forgotten something at the cabin and would catch up. They were not with the group when they returned and missed the post-hike lunch. They reappeared around 30 minutes after everyone had finished eating, extending their absence far beyond the few minutes Sarah had mentioned. Ethan even cracked a joke about getting lost on the trail, which made several people uncomfortable given how obvious their absence had been. When I asked Jake why he decided to tell me all this, he explained that he and his wife had experienced infidelity in their relationship several years ago. They had worked through it, but only because the truth was revealed immediately. He believed that secrets damage marriages faster than mistakes and that I deserved to know what was happening. I met Sarah at a coffee shop to explain my decision. She arrived 20 minutes early and had already ordered my usual drink. She brought a folder filled with images from the reunion, pointing out group photos that included Ethan, trying to illustrate that nothing inappropriate had occurred. However, those photographs only captured the organized events, not the free time when Jake claimed they were alone together. She also had written emails from the reunion organizers addressing arrangements, but none of them indicated any restrictions on spouses. She questioned why I would abandon 7 years of marriage based on what Jake said, alleging that he had always been envious of her friendships and even mentioning his behavior at our wedding. I told her that this was about more than just Jake's account, it was about the lies she told to ensure that I wouldn't be there. Present while her ex was the fact that she had constructed an elaborate deception instead of simply being honest about the situation, which demonstrated a fundamental breach of trust. Sarah admitted that she had made a mistake in how she handled the incident, but she continued to deny that anything had happened with Ethan. She offered marriage counseling, noting that she had already scheduled a preliminary visit for the following week. When I declined, she became visibly frustrated, rifling through her folder of evidence to prove that nothing inappropriate had occurred. She urged me to speak with someone else from the reunion, mentioning 2 people I had never met who might allegedly provide a different account of events. The next day, I began searching for apartments. I found one close to my work and signed a 6-month lease. I paid the security deposit and first month's rent from my personal account rather than our joint account. When I told Sarah I was moving out, she called her parents. They came over that evening and tried to mediate, with her father emphasizing that every marriage has its ups and downs, while her mother cried and pleaded with us to seek counseling before making any final decisions. Her father mentioned his own past mistakes, which her mother had forgiven, implying that our situation was comparable. The following weekend, I moved most of my personal belongings to the small apartment. 2 friends helped me transport my things while Sarah was at her parents' place. I left a letter indicating which furniture I had taken and which ones I would return later. Sarah began telling our friends her version of events, portraying Jake as a troublemaker and me as difficult. She claimed I had misread innocent exchanges and overreacted without giving her a chance to explain. My sister filed the initial divorce papers, citing irreconcilable differences. Sarah texted me, saying she still hoped I would change my mind before things went too far. When I didn't respond, she sent an email with links to marriage counselors in our area, claiming she had researched their qualifications and found one who specialized in trust restoration. I didn't open the links. Does it ever get easier? I posted on Reddit. I'm really lost right now. Update 2, it has been a month since my last update, and the divorce is moving forward. Sarah initially challenged it, stating that irreconcilable differences were not a valid basis under the circumstances. My sister indicated that this was merely a delay tactic, as our state recognizes no-fault divorce regardless of objections. Sarah filed a lengthy response to the divorce petition, requesting marriage counseling before proceeding and claiming that the marriage could be saved. Sarah has alternated between contrite notes and hostile accusations. She came to my apartment twice, once with flowers and once with divorce papers covered in handwritten comments disputing various terms. During her second visit, she refused to leave until I spoke with her, culminating in an awkward standoff in the hallway of my building. My neighbor eventually intervened and let me go back inside. I instructed my building management not to allow her in again. Sarah also approached my sister directly, trying to persuade her to stop representing me. She sent emails to my sister alleging that I was acting strangely and didn't really want the divorce. My sister forwarded those emails to me without comment. Sarah then attempted to convince our mutual friends that I should reconsider. 2 friends contacted me, evidently concerned about how quickly the marriage was falling apart after only hearing Sarah's side of the story. Last week, I ran into Jamie, one of Ethan's friends who also knew Sarah, at the grocery store. We had met at our wedding, and he recognized me. During our conversation, I brought up the incident with Sarah and Ethan at the reunion. Jamie looked perplexed and explained that Ethan had told him Sarah had been all over him the entire weekend. According to Jamie, Ethan claimed that Sarah had said our marriage was in trouble and likely to end in divorce. Jamie then revealed that Ethan confirmed they had hooked up on the final night of the reunion. When I asked for clarification, Jamie confirmed that Ethan had explicitly mentioned that they had slept together. He apologized for sharing this information but felt I deserved to know the truth. Jamie said that Ethan had expressed ambivalence about the situation because he knew me from the wedding, but Sarah had insisted that our marriage was virtually over. I thanked Jamie for the information and stopped shopping. After returning to my car, I called my sister to tell her what I had learned. She encouraged me not to confront Sarah with this information just yet, as it could be valuable during the divorce proceedings. She mentioned that if Sarah was disputing the divorce, evidence of infidelity could affect our strategy, and she suggested letting her handle that aspect. My sister advised me to forward any messages or emails from Sarah to her before responding, so I wouldn't say anything that could worsen the situation. That evening, Sarah arrived at my apartment unannounced, having been let in by a neighbor. She brought dinner from my favorite restaurant and offered to talk. For nearly an hour, she reiterated her previous explanations, informed her about my conversation with Jamie and Ethan's allegation of them hooking up at the reunion. She became visibly enraged, insisting that Jamie was lying and that Ethan wouldn't say such things. She speculated that Ethan might have told Jamie to lie out of anger because she had stopped communicating with him shortly after the reunion, realizing that their friendship wasn't worth damaging her marriage. She questioned why I would believe a virtual stranger over her, accusing me of searching for reasons to end our marriage. When I asked if she acknowledged continuing to communicate with Ethan after the reunion, she grew defensive, packed her belongings, and slammed the door behind her. The next day, she sent a lengthy email claiming to have contacted Ethan, who denied telling Jamie anything about them hooking up. She insisted it was all a mistake or planned sabotage. A week later, Ethan called me. He explained that Sarah had been calling him constantly, sometimes from multiple lines after he blocked her, accusing him of spreading rumors. He claimed he only wanted the drama to stop. Ethan acknowledged that he had exaggerated when telling Jamie that he and Sarah had slept together. He said they spent a lot of time together at the reunion, but they merely kissed and did not sleep together. He claimed the kiss occurred on the final night after they had both consumed alcohol at the farewell dinner. Ethan went on to say that Sarah had informed him that our marriage was experiencing troubles, that we hadn't been connecting lately, and that she wasn't sure what she wanted. He claimed she had instigated most of their interactions at the reunion, seeking him out during activities and asking to meet up alone. Ethan seemed astonished when I told him we were planning to have a baby next year and that we weren't having any issues. He apologized for his role in the incident, stating he should have kept his distance knowing she was married. After the call, I passed Ethan's contact information to my sister, who urged me not to confront Sarah directly about the contradictions. She advised that the legal process should continue without further emotional clashes. I didn't reply to Sarah's email justifying herself. 2 days later, she suddenly agreed to the divorce terms proposed by my attorney, including the asset division we had discussed. The speed with which she accepted the divorce after weeks of fighting made me wonder what had changed. My sister speculated that Sarah might have realized Ethan had spoken to me and decided to cut her losses rather than risk more details being revealed during contested proceedings. Update 3: It has been a month since my last update. The house has been put up for sale, and we have already received 2 bids above the asking price. We've agreed to split the proceeds evenly once the mortgage is paid off. Sarah returned to the apartment, this time with her mother. They brought boxes to collect some household items that we had agreed she could take. While Sarah was gathering her belongings, her mother attempted to engage me in conversation about marriage troubles and second chances. She shared a story about nearly separating from her husband shortly after Sarah was born due to his long work hours and her suspicions of an affair, which turned out to be unfounded. She emphasized how happy she was that they had worked through their issues rather than separating. I helped them carry boxes to their car but avoided engaging in conversation beyond basic civility. As they were about to leave, Sarah requested to meet with me alone while her mother waited in the car. Her mother appeared hesitant to leave us, glancing back several times as she walked toward the car. Once we were alone, Sarah's demeanor shifted. She seemed more somber than in our previous conversations. She indicated that she needed to clear her conscience and admitted to lying about why I couldn't attend the reunion, as well as spending significant time with Ethan. However, she maintained that they never slept together and only kissed once after the farewell dinner when they were both drunk. She claimed she stopped it from going further and immediately regretted the kiss. Sarah couldn't understand why Ethan would tell Jamie they had hooked up, implying that he either thought a kiss constituted hooking up or was embellishing to save face. She also confessed to deleting text messages between her and Ethan before the reunion, admitting that their conversations sometimes devolved into reminiscing about their past relationship, which she knew would upset me if I saw them. She explained that what happened in the cabin was completely harmless. They had gone to grab something from his car but ended up talking for much longer than expected about his recent divorce and feelings of failure. When I asked why she was telling me this now, Sarah replied that since the divorce was inevitable, she wanted me to know the truth. She admitted to making a series of poor decisions and dealing with the consequences but denied being disloyal to that extent. She also denied having doubts about our marriage before the reunion, contradicting Ethan's statement, and insisted that he may have misconstrued what she said about being worried about having children. She handed me an envelope containing concert tickets to a band in which she accused him of ruining her marriage by messaging me. In her conversations, She referred to him as a backstabbing friend and claimed he had misinterpreted harmless encounters. Mark confirmed everything he had told me and added that numerous others at the reunion had witnessed Sarah and Ethan's behavior but were hesitant to intervene. He recounted specific incidents I hadn't heard about before, such as Sarah and Ethan being absent from an evening bonfire for over an hour. In her letters to Mark, Sarah stated that she and Ethan talked about their past relationship during the reunion and reminisced about old times. She accused Mark of making assumptions about their time in the cabin but didn't deny that they had been alone together for longer than she had previously reported. She also mentioned inside jokes and light flirting, which she insisted should not have been taken seriously. For me, each new piece of information only reinforced my decision. Even Jamie's late statement about the kiss seemed to be a half-truth intended to explain away her actions while downplaying her conduct. The pattern of dishonesty followed by scant admissions when confronted with facts had eroded any basis for trust. I focused on starting my new life. I bought new furnishings for my apartment instead of using the temporary items I had moved from our home. My sister referred me to her husband's friend, who needed help rebuilding his basement, which gave me something to work on during the evenings and weekends. Sarah has stopped reaching out as frequently. According to mutual acquaintances, she has been telling people that she made a mistake but that my refusal to forgive was the real reason our marriage ended. Some believe her, but others don't. I've stopped trying to correct the record or justify my decisions. Those who know me understand, while those who don't are irrelevant to my future. The divorce will be finalized in the next few months, ideally as soon as possible. I'll provide an update then. Final update: the divorce was finalized last week. I expected to receive the final papers without any drama, but that was not the case. Sarah emailed me 2 days before our divorce became legal. The subject line read the whole truth. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity got the better of me. In the email, Sarah ultimately acknowledged that she and Ethan had slept together twice during the reunion. She claimed she fought the divorce so hard at first because she couldn't bear to accept the whole truth, even to herself. According to her email, Ethan had contacted her a month before the reunion, and they had been communicating regularly since then. When she discovered he would be there, she purposefully fabricated the story about couples not being welcome. She revealed information I hadn't known before. Their first night together had been planned ahead of time rather than being a spontaneous decision influenced by alcohol, as she had previously stated. She had arranged to meet him in his cabin after the welcome dinner, telling others she needed to make a business call. Their second encounter occurred after the farewell meal when most people were preoccupied with group activities. She apologized for everything, especially for trying to make me look irrational to our friends for seeking a divorce. She admitted to manipulating the situation by only acknowledging parts of the truth when confronted with evidence. She concluded by stating that she wasn't asking for forgiveness but rather wanted to stop living with the lies. I forwarded the email to my sister without comment. She called me immediately to check if I was okay. I confirmed I was fine, as I had suspected all along. When she asked if I wanted to use the submission in the divorce process, I declined, indicating that the terms were fair as they were and that all I wanted was to finalize everything. The documentation was filed in my records, but I saw no point in using it to further punish Sarah. I did not reply to Sarah's email. There was nothing more to say. The day after the divorce was finalized, Sarah's sister called me. We had always gotten along well at family gatherings. She had learned of Sarah's confession email and wanted to apologize for how her family had treated me during the process. She stated that Sarah had finally told their parents everything, and they were embarrassed by how they had pushed me to reconcile. I informed her that it wasn't their fault, they were merely supporting their daughter, as was expected. She emphasized that they didn't blame me for the outcome, with her father feeling particularly guilty about what he had said during his intervention attempt. 2 days later, I received another email from Sarah requesting that we meet one final time to return some of my personal items she had discovered while packing up the house, which we had agreed to sell as part of our divorce settlement. I agreed to meet. Sarah arrived 10 minutes late and handed me a small box containing my grandfather's antique watch and some childhood photos mixed with hers. The watch had been missing for months, and I had accused Sarah of misplacing it while cleaning.